Our speakers tonight are up on the screen: Chris Bloore, Matthew McLeod, and Josephine Bell. And they're going to be talking to us about some cause-based clubs and some satellite clubs, and some of the challenges they had and some of the winnings they also had. And our first speaker is going to be Chris Bloore.
Thanks very much for the invitation. It's as you can see, I have my head in the clouds. I'm stuck in a hotel room in Auckland at the moment. I'm hoping I can make my slides advance. Yes. Okay. So I was asked to talk a little bit about the benefits of having a cause-based or focused club. And really there are three really significant advantages. First of all of the members are committed to that focus. And you've got a variety of skills and experience, but they're all going to be pointing in the same direction, which is a real plus. You'll also likely have access to a really deep pool of expertise related to that cause, because you're trawling the globe, or certainly your country, or maybe even your state or district, for people with a particular interest. And the other advantage is that there is very often a ready-made constituency. You might have a RAG, in our case, a WAS RAG. It may be a professional society or some other group aligned with your goals. And that gives you access to mailing lists for publicity and the ability to shoulder tap. And I've always found that shoulder tapping with a really blunt instrument is much the best way. So here you've got some people who are putting their heads up by having an interest in that focus. Just a little bit of history. Apparently, we were surprised to learn we were the first cause-based club in Rotary. We chartered 5 years or so ago, and I happened to be the person who ducked slowest, so I was the inaugural president. We're sponsored by 2 District 9980 clubs, Dunedin and Dunedin East, and we chartered in October 2016. So we've been going a few years now. Our certificate of incorporation is up on the screen there. Why did we start? Well, the sad fact is that a large percentage of Rotary water sanitation hygiene projects worldwide have mixed success and quite limited sustainability. There's a great enthusiasm, there's a lot of photo opportunities, and everybody's very enthusiastic. And you go back 6 months later and the pumps stop working, or the wheels have fallen off the maintenance, or there are disagreements or squabbles, and the whole thing can really not be settled in for the long haul. So because Steve Atkins, one of our Dunedin Central Rotary Club members, the club I was in before I left to join the E-Club, he's an industrial psychologist. Humanitarian work psychology is his specialty, and he thought we've got to be able to do better than this. And he got involved in a Rotary-sponsored project called Smart Aid, which was to improve the quality of aid projects through picking the right people to be on the team and making sure that some basic rules of successful projects are followed. So how did we get started? Well, there were 4 problems we had. If you're looking at a satellite club or a regionally based club, some of these won't necessarily affect you. First of all, you've got to be a Rotary club. So there's a whole, I was going to say baggage, that's unkind. There is a whole historic tradition behind Rotary of over 100 years. And you've somehow got to remain Rotarians in this club. We're an E-Club, which means we don't meet each other very often. Typically, about half the club meet at a World Water Summit, the Friday before Rotary International Conventions. And I've managed to be to three of those over the years. We have a globally distributed membership. And by global, I mean most time zones. And that is a tricky one. And of course, we've got a single focus, which in most respects is a big plus. So it was it was not without its issues, but we got there. Being a Rotary Club means you've got, well, certainly at the time we chartered, we had to have 25 members. Now, finding 25 members while keeping on to the first 24 that you found in the absence of chartering is actually a bit of a challenge. So it took us probably 18 months to get to 25, and we'd already lost a few by the time we got that number. You've got to select your president, president-elect, possibly a nominee, a treasurer, secretary, and other officers. So you've got to have some people prepared to put some work in before there's any real club even in existence. Then you've got to set up your administrative framework and bank accounts, bank account signatories, mailing addresses, constitution, bylaws, all the normal admin stuff. Setting up with a club runner or getting everybody registered with RI, connecting up the people who want to get RDU, the people who want to get the Rotarian, the people who want to get different magazines in different countries. And also, of course, forging links with your district, because the district is your host, and that's absolutely critical. The second problem or challenge or exciting aspect is the e-club. So we did a little bit of pioneering. E-clubs were in existence. I believe there were about 300 of them at the time we chartered. So it wasn't exactly brand new, but it was still a bit novel. And we had to set up a website and forums for meetings. We used GoToMeeting initially and later Zoom, and setting up various social media. Now, probably a quarter of our membership don't do social media. For example, I'm on LinkedIn, but not on Facebook. I don't use Facebook. I don't go to it. I don't approve of it in many ways. So trying to be a modern e-club in the 21st century without a 100% Facebook membership can be exciting. So social media became an issue, and we actually lost a member over that because she set it up and then found almost nobody wanted to join it, which was a bit of a problem. The globally distributed membership is an issue. It's taken 2 years with Westpac Bank to get our treasurer, our signatory. He currently lives in Missouri. Absolute nightmare. How do you cope with pets if you're not going to fly somebody from, say, the Sudan or Canada to New Zealand to do the D9980 pets? So you've got to arrange to have pets in different districts, which means inter-district cooperation, which I've got to say is a lot of fun. And you certainly broaden your Rotary experience by doing that. Given that you've got people in different time zones, how do you pick a time to meet? And I'll explain how we do that in a few minutes. And the next issue, of course, is how do you fundraise? How do you have a sergeant session? How do you find people? How do you get smallish bits of money in? Well, we've hit on trivia nights. We've now had 2 very successful ones with people all over the world joining in and paying $25 US for the privilege, and a great deal of fun. But you've got to make the stuff up as you go along. The good thing with a single focus club, of course, is everybody's on the same team. Everybody's trying to make it work, and so cooperation is really not an issue at all. Plenty of that. Now, perhaps more relevant to you guys is the single focus. Your recruitment is both restricted and expanded by the single focus nature. One of the issues we've had is that probably 1/3 of our membership are first-time Rotarians. So how do you turn a non-Rotarian into a Rotarian without ever meeting them face-to-face? So we used other clubs in the geographical area of the members to host the induction ceremony. And we did that over Zoom, and that proved very successful. And that meant they had a local mentor of Rotary in their local area. And of course, the engagement of members is actually enhanced by their common focus. So engagement has been less of an issue perhaps than in some clubs. although that's not trouble-free. Our key success factors were, and I can't emphasize this too much, we had support and encouragement from the very top. Past Rotary International President Bill Boyd, a Kiwi past president of Rotary International, was very supportive. The WASRAG executive were very, very supportive. District governors, 3 of them were used up. I mean, it took so long to actually charter that 3 of them were heavily involved, immensely supportive, and we couldn't have done it without them. They appointed ADG Leslie Brooke, who mentored us for 2 years, and we met, of course, as an inaugural president, I met with the other district presidents in our local group. And the presidents of the local clubs were also very helpful, and 1 or 2 relinquished memberships to our recruitment. We're very careful not to poach, but inevitably you do end up with the odd person from somebody else's club. And one of the other key factors was that because, in a way, we're a spin-off from Water and Sanitation Rotarian Action Group, we had a ready-made constituency and a mailing list of 40,000 on their email distribution lists, and that was incredibly helpful. So what about the benefits of the club? Really, it's commitment and it's finding complementary skills. We've got engineers, tradespeople, management experts, academics, NGO chairs, just a huge range of people. We've got one of the highest PhD counts in a club, and yet somehow we can still function because it's well known that PhD means permanent head damage. And I certainly suffer from that. Some advice: Rotary clubs form, grow and flourish by adapting and learning and changing. If you've done something once, it's a novelty and is probably a bit suspect. If you do it twice, it's a tradition, and we must always do it that way. This is human nature, and staying flexible is actually something you've got to work at. Crucial that you find tasks for all your members. Unless they've got a job to do, they're not going to be fully committed. In some ways, we've had to beat off some of our members with sticks to keep them ploughing their own furrow because they're just so enthusiastic. There is a risk of capture by special interests. We have, I think, 3 of our members, including our current president, who are chairs of non-governmental organisations, charitable organisations. And we've managed this very well, but there is the potential, if you've got a group of people with particular interest, maybe a trades union or whatever it might be, there is a possibility or the perception they can be captured. And the key thing is we have to remain Rotary. And our President Heidi has invented this wonderful word, Rotarified. Rotarified means that your members have actually turned into Rotarians. And she's been very helpful in doing that. How do we meet? Twice every 2 weeks on Zoom. We used to use GoToMeeting, but we're using Zoom now successfully. And of course, the catchphrase of 2020 is, "You're on mute." So, the reason we have to meet twice is that we have people, a significant number of people on Eastern US time, and people scattered across North America and New Zealand and Bangladesh and Abu Dhabi and Netherlands, and it just becomes incredibly difficult to find one time that doesn't involve getting up at 2 in the morning. So typically we have the same speaker on the US Tuesday and the US Thursday, which is Wednesday and Friday for New Zealand and Australia. And we'll often replay them if they can't, so it'll be a fresh meeting, but the speaker will be recorded if they can't make it. We record both our meetings and they're available to members. Our board and committees meet at convenient times, depending on the membership of the committee. And there would be at least 1 or 2 committee meetings each week, or a board meeting. And as I mentioned earlier, about half the membership generally can get to the World Water Summit. I've been to Seoul, Atlanta, and Hamburg. I missed out Toronto. I'm not sure how many of us are going to get to Taiwan. So the face-to-face meeting certainly does help. Some challenges. Well, we thought finding ways to get to know each other would be the problem. That was not a problem. It seems that 2 or 3 Zoom meetings is enough to cement a lifelong friendship. And that's been fabulous. Some of these members in front of us are past presidents. 1 or 2 are no longer in our club. We've got new people who've joined. We've lost a few members to other Rotary clubs, having introduced them into Rotary. And so there's a bit of a flow. So winding up, because safe water and sanitation are key elements in many of the areas of focus of Rotary, they cover quite a few of those, and of course a lot of the UN's strategic development goals. It's a kind of a good focus to have, and although it's a single focus, it is relevant to quite a lot of what Rotary does. And basically we've had to adapt the 4-way test and add an extra way, and the extra way is have fun. Thanks very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Chris. That was very interesting. Having a club of members all around the world, meeting at different times. Yeah, a round of applause for Chris. Thank you very much. Now we've got a little video to show. Damien, if you could show that for us, that would be wonderful.
Sometimes what makes you a perfect candidate for a Rotary club also makes it hard for you to make it to a meeting.
Well, one of the reasons I'd never joined Rotary over the years was because I was traveling and couldn't get to a weekly meeting.
But Rotary clubs make the most impact when members can develop lasting relationships, contribute their valuable expertise, and take action together. Take the Wash E-Club. While the club was developed and chartered in District 9980 in New Zealand, their members are a mix of locals and those who live in countries across the globe, from Ethiopia to the Netherlands, Mexico to the United States. The E-Club model lets them meet online, and in this case, allows the members to focus on water and sanitation projects. The global nature of their membership gives them a breadth of experience that helps increase the positive impact of club projects. The club does the same things any other Rotary club does, except they meet via video conference. The E-Club model enhances the work Neil and the club are doing on their Wash in Schools global grant project, where they're partnering with local Rotary clubs to provide clean water, working toilets, and hygiene education to 7 Nigerian schools. Explore a new club model. Attract new members and participants. Continue making an impact. Grow Rotary.
Yep,
So
good
let me
idea.
introduce our next speaker, Matt. Matt is the District Governor nominee, current District Membership Chair, and Satellite Club Champion from District 9910 in New Zealand. So let's make Matt very welcome, and let's see what we've got to say. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks very much, Adrian. Good evening, everybody. I'll just start the screen sharing. Can everybody see that? Good. So I'm going to talk tonight about our club's journey of setting up a satellite club. We did this right back in 2015, so we've got quite a lot of experience about the level of support that's needed to keep a satellite club working well and flourishing after having set one up. So just for those of you who aren't 100% sure, what exactly is a satellite club? Well, really it's an extension of an existing Rotary club, but with a much more potentially flexible culture and a different way of doing things from the main club. They're likely to meet at a different time and possibly a different venue, and it might even be a different location or at a project or some other more creative way of meeting online, any other option. But the big focus for us is when we set this up, we wanted it to be focused around a club who are doing projects rather than just meeting for the sake of meeting and having a guest speaker and a meal. So this type of system really applies to people who are, it appeals to people who are time poor, don't want to necessarily spend money on a weekly meal at a meeting, don't fit with the club's current culture, but really are enthusiastic about doing hands-on projects. And we have found that is definitely a younger audience. When we were marketing this, when we were first setting it up, we pitched it for an age group of 25 to 45. And it has morphed a little bit since then, and we've now got members aged anywhere from 20 up to about 50 or 55, including some who have come along and checked out the main club and checked out the satellite club and like the way that the satellite club operates and have decided to join that in preference to the main club. But we're still growing with the main club as well, with all of the excitement around the additional projects that we're able to take on with the satellite club as help. We are experiencing growth in our main Rotary club as well. So some of the benefits of starting a satellite club are really a workforce of willing younger people who are keen to get their hands dirty, lowering the average age of your Rotary club and providing a bit of diversity. And the key thing for our club was we didn't want to make massive changes to the culture of our club or the way we were doing things, but we realized that if we didn't set something up in parallel to the existing club structure, then at some point in time we were going to be facing some issues. You only need 8 members to start a satellite club, so the restrictions are not quite as heavy as starting a completely new club from scratch. And the kind of things that our club has been working on, they tend to be hands-on things. They do fundraisers to raise money to pay for these things, but their main focus is actually doing things, and they tend to be environmental for schools and young people, and some sort of issues around homelessness. That's been a big one for them. I'll give you a few pictures here of some examples of the projects. This is the very first project that they did, which was replacing a fence at a community garden and giving it a great tidy up, and doing some paths at a primary school, and they managed to embed a large Rotary wheel into that, which was good. Planter boxes at another primary school. This is a cool one. This is a location that they had to go to by boat. There's no road to it, and they got to build some penguin boxes for allowing little blue penguins to nest, and that was a great day and something that you wouldn't have normally got to have done without the Rotary connection. These homeless gift packs, so every Christmas they've been putting together these packs which have been distributed to homeless people around Auckland, and that's always a very fun one because it's a matter of collecting the items and then assembling these packs, and it's the number that they're up to now. I think the first year they did about 50 or 60, and then it's the second year about 80, and the third year about 120. So it's certainly a worthwhile project. Another environmental one here, building a walkway. This was in conjunction with district grant. Another one at a play centre, primary school gardens. As you can see, they're very, very, very heavily focused on hands-on things. This is an exciting one for them, which is actually a project between 2 districts here in New Zealand, which is a week-long program called Challenge Camp, where Rotary youth exchange students buddied up with disabled young people aged 16 to 24 for a week full of challenging activities. And a number of our satellite club members, in fact, the guy in the top corner here singing away, he's actually taken a whole week off work 3 times to come along and be the camp dad at this event. He's really loves working on this project. Christmas parades. As you can see, it's a lot of fun stuff, and you can see they're all having a great time and all getting their hands dirty and also learning a lot of stuff. Like some of these jobs, you get to learn different tools that they haven't used before and really expand their horizons from then. Some of them have got quite office-based jobs, so doing this kind of thing is great fun. So just some key hints from us as to how to get buy-in. Now, when we started doing this, it was just before I became president of our club, and we did have a number of our long-term members who were a bit worried about what this was, because there weren't any other satellite clubs in our district at that stage, and we really needed to make sure that they had their objections heard, and a lot of the objections were really around not understanding exactly what a satellite club was. They thought it would be something that would compete with their existing club, and it would be more attractive than the existing club, and people would want to join one and not the other. And they thought it would be not real Rotary. There wouldn't be any Rotary content in it, which is definitely far from the truth. So after having explained all that one by one to those members, we managed to get it passed without any concerns at our AGM 5 or 6 years ago. But I think it's important to make sure that you do talk through issues with people before they become real issues, and a lot of it is purely just them not knowing how it might work. Focus on the benefits to the club. And as I mentioned, our club has found that it's given the main club a renewed sort of sense of life, with all of the exciting things that are going on, often in conjunction with the satellite club, because all of the projects that they're doing, they offer to the main club to participate in, and vice versa. And there's a lot of collaboration between the two groups. So what we've done is also made sure that, next slide, that we've assigned people who will attend the satellite club meetings just to find out what's happening, offer assistance, but not try and run things, but certainly to be there to give some guidance, and if there's any feedback that needs to come back to the main club, that can happen that way. We haven't done this, but I know other satellite clubs in our district have allowed a representative from the satellite club to be on the main club's board, which gives them direct access to the decision-making processes in the club's board. But the key thing for us was making sure that we help them out with a joint project. So rather than them having to come up with some funding to get their first project off the ground, we decided that we should help with that, which was a good idea. And all the time we've got satellite club members coming to the main club's events, the Christmas function, changeover, inductions of new members. We tend to try and do that at the main club, so that the main club members get to meet the new satellite club members, and also providing some opportunities for upskilling, things like the Rotary leadership or learning and information programs and things like that, which we can invite them to. And the other big thing is trying to work out a flexible payment structure, and keeping the cost as low as possible, so that money concerns don't put people off from wanting to be a member. The other big thing for us is not having to wait until we've finished a project to have something new and ready to start on. So this is something that I've borrowed from the Rotary Club of Papanui in District 9970. So thank you very much. If there's anybody from that club on the call. And the way it works is they actually got their club to brainstorm a list of potential projects, and they would then give that list to somebody who would figure out the feasibility, the likely costs, what would be required in terms of resources to do these projects, and then they ranked them and figured out what their order of doing things was. So this works really, really well, because we can now, rather than having to finish a project, spend a couple of months figuring out what's next, we can move straight from project to project with small gaps, which also means that we can use projects as a key membership driver for the club. So rather than inviting people along to a Rotary meeting, we'll invite them along to a project, so they can actually get their hands dirty and see what the club's output is and see what the results are, rather than getting scared off by the meeting, which does sometimes tend to happen in a lot of clubs. So we've found this works really, really well, and I highly suggest it for any club, whether or not you're doing a satellite club or not. If you want to become a more project-focused club, this is a good way to start. There are my contact details. If anybody needs any help with satellite clubs, I'm happy to answer any questions, and we'll go from there.
Thanks very much, Matt. That was very good. We'll give you a virtual round of applause too. Very interesting. It sounds like you've got a great little satellite club up there and up and running there. Okay, we'll move to our third and final speaker, and this speaker is not from New Zealand. This speaker is actually from the Gold Coast up in Queensland, who's been getting a couple of spots of rain the last few days. Joe is the chair nominee of the Rotary Satellite Club of Stanthorpe, Flexitime. I like that idea. Rotary Club's Satellite of Stanthorpe, Flexitime, District 9640. Let's welcome Joe.
Thank you. Next slide, please, Damien. Okay, so I'm a nurse and a midwife, and I work at the Stanthorpe Hospital. I was first introduced to Rotary. I went on a GSC in Pennsylvania in 2016. When I came back, I wanted to join Rotary, and I heard a satellite club was being formed, and so I waited to join the satellite club. Next slide, please. So this is District 9640 where I'm from. So you can see Gold Coast is to the right there. I'm actually 3 hours inland and west on the border of Queensland. Next slide, please. So this is my little town. It's a little rural town. There's about 15,000 people. It's well known for its wineries and its orchards and small crops and farming. Next slide, please, Damien. This is the creek that runs through the town, Quartop Creek. Quite beautiful, and we're getting rain at the moment. I'm not sure if you can hear me very well, but there's thunder and lightning and rain going on outside, which is really exciting. We've been in a drought here for the last couple of years. Next slide, please, Damien. So my club, I'm now the chair of our club. Our chair has resigned. She's moving. So I'm now the active chair. We chartered in 2017. We started with 10 members and we currently have 10 members, and we have some expressions of interest waiting to join our club. And our main club, the Monday Club, we refer to it as the Monday Club. We have 19 members. We meet on the 2nd and the 4th Wednesday of the month, and the first meeting is usually a business meeting where we discuss our projects and our plans, and the second meeting we make it more social and for fellowship. Our meetings can be anywhere in a coffee shop, at someone's home. That's where Flexitime comes in. We're very flexible. Next slide, please, Damien. So where it all began, RI wanted different styles and forms of membership. As you know, there's e-clubs and cause clubs and corporate clubs and all kinds of different clubs. So Satellite Club is one of those options. Our district, 9640, currently has 4 satellite clubs. And as I said, our club was chartered in 2017. Next slide, please, Damien. So this is our inaugural charter night. So this is all the people that were there. We've lost a couple of members and we've gained a couple of members. Some of the members that we've lost weren't quite sure what our club represented and what it meant, and that's one of the challenges, and I know that our people about it as well. Next slide, please, Dan. So our Satellite Club was set up to provide flexibility with lower cost meetings and for time poor members, which seems to be quite a theme running through our discussions this evening. As you can see, we have quite young people there, mothers, fathers, business people who are otherwise quite busy. So the satellite provides that flexibility that they need to be a Rotarian. Next slide, please, Damien. So the satellite definition of a satellite, I thought that was interesting. You can refer to a country or an organisation as a satellite when it's controlled or depends on a larger and more powerful one. So as the years are going on, it's now 3 years since we established, we don't refer to our host club as the main club anymore. We refer to it as the Monday Club. Although we don't have any intentions of breaking away just at the moment, to create some equality and some autonomy, we refer to it as the Monday Club. Next slide, please. So how we started, we had some bylaws that were established to work out how the game of play. We had a mentor from the Monday Club that was provided for the first 18 months, and that was the president, vice presidents, and they would come to our meetings and help us out. Also, as one of the previous speakers mentioned, none of the people that joined Rotary in the Satellite Club were actually Rotarians previously. So we really needed that guidance about Rotary and what it meant. We also had financial support for any projects that we wanted to start, and with the backing of the board as well. The first 3 incoming chairs, so we had the chair-elect and chair nominee, that we all went to the Leadership Institute, which was quite beneficial to set up just how we wanted to run our club. The next slide, please, Damien. Sorry, are we still? Can I have the next slide, please? Thank you. I just listed all our activities and events there. So one of the big events that came out of our club is the Spooky Walk. So one of our very first chair, she loves Halloween. So we set up, we didn't refer to it as Halloween, so we set up a spooky walk around our beautiful creek that I showed you before. So a place where all the children can dress up in their scary clothes and enjoy some free activities that we have around the creek and raise a little bit of money. We also have, so we have our club activities and events. We have charter party and Christmas in winter, where we don't raise a lot of money. That's the difference with our satellite club compared to the Monday club. We also have combined activities. So we do Australia Day, where we help cook the barbecue, Show Day, where we also help cook barbecue, Autumn Race Day, which is a really big fundraiser here in our town. We've raised over $2 million for the hospitals and in Queensland. We have a combined Christmas party and a combined DG visit. Next slide, please, Damien. That was just, it's a bit fuzzy, I'm really sorry, but this was the very first combined Christmas party that we had in 2017. So lots of collegiality there and lots of team building. Next slide, please. So what's the benefits of being a satellite club? So we've got choices. So we can actually choose to go to the Monday club. Monday club people can come to our satellite club. We have lots of flexibility. We do Zoom meetings, we do lots of fellowship, and meet in lots of various places. We've got a great, sorry, that's a typo, great fellowship in our club, I feel. Initially when we were put together, we were the brainchild of the Monday club, but none of us actually knew each other quite well. So we really had to form those bonds, which can be a little bit tricky. Shared communication and support, which was also what the previous speaker mentioned. Communication is very important. Having a satellite club introduces a different demographic. We also bring the IT skills and technology understanding, and we actually have a messenger group that we've set up, and that is really fantastic. You just drop a little line on there and people seem to notice those messages. Anything greater than that we send by email. And we can also support a broader demographic in our community. And also, like the previous speaker said, seems to be a theme, we also focus on the youth in our community as well. Next slide, please. So what are some of the challenges we face? One of the biggest things is explaining our relationship and what our differences are between the two clubs. We also, with that, we have different presidents in the Monday club and the main club, and they can sometimes bring their own spin to how they see what the satellite club is to them. We've had some that thought that we were, because we're younger, that we can do a lot more of the footwork for them, that we were part of their committee, and then others have totally alienated us in your own club in your own right. So we're actually getting better at consolidating that relationship. It was a little bit tricky, and I think it's really important if a satellite club is being set up that relationship is really established. It's not so much about a satellite club, the next challenge, but we are a real female dominant club. We're finding it difficult to attract our demographic, the gentlemen in our age group, to come and join us. We're in a rural area, so a lot of farmers, a lot of people who are very, very time poor, work very hard, so they find it difficult to commit to Rotary. Next slide, please, Damien. So where we see our future of our club is we don't have an intention of becoming an independent club. We're working on consolidating that working relationship, and at the moment, myself as a chair and the president of the main club, we work really well together, and we have a really good understanding of where each other sits and our boundaries. Also, recently, I've decided that I'm going to do a pictorial representation of what a relationship is, so that I can give it to new members and our current members, so they completely understand how we relate to the main club. We also plan to increase our membership and expand our focus outside of youth. And we're planning to set up an alumni for our rights roller and with key students. And that looks like a chat group in membership. Next slide, please, Damien. So our RO president, he says, we have to be open to new approaches and creating unique clubs for younger people. It's just part of the solution. And next slide, please, Damien. This is our recent Christmas party. So lots of happy faces. Only one gentleman in the crowd there. Next slide, please, Damien. So Rotary opens opportunities, and I'd just like to say thank you very much to Damien for running through my PowerPoint for me, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today and share information regarding our wonderful satellite club.
Well, thank you, Josephine. What a lovely presentation. A big round of applause for Josephine. That was very interesting. I love the flexibility. Rotary International have given us a lot of flexibility that we can use in our clubs now. And I can see your focus on lower costs, less meeting time for time poor members. And I think there's a lot of time poor Rotarians out there. So being focused on that is a very good thing. I can see you've got a very busy satellite club doing great things in your community. So congratulations.
Rotary is made up of dedicated people who share the same ideals, a passion for community service and friendship. And while some are inspired in a traditional club experience, others want to dedicate their skills and resources to a single cause in their communities. That's why alternative club models, such as cause-based clubs, are impactful and expand our reach. These clubs organize programs, implement projects, and attract participants around a specific focus. For example, these two clubs in the United States have built their culture around environmental issues.
Eco Club membership is an opportunity to build new relationships, leadership skills, with a focus on environmental sustainability.
As newer clubs, they can establish their own norms that fit membership's needs.
Each month, we take a field trip to a speaker's place of business that focuses on protecting our planet's health.
Speakers are experts in sustainability or recycling, and the club's service projects focus on beautification and preservation of the planet. The successes are visible in the club's growing diverse membership. Explore a new club model. Attract new members and participants. Continue making an impact. Grow Rotary.
Okay, I have one question here that I did send to Damien, but while he's trying to get his audio sorted, this question was from past District Governor Mitchell Brown from District 9940. And Mitchell said, great session this evening. Is there scope for cause-based clubs to be established and linked locally, geographically, or local network group of clubs or district to our various fellowships to meet local and supported by district with the huge worldwide link to fellowships that current Rotarians may be part of?
Okay, is that better?
That is better, Damien.
Okay, great. All right.
Well,
thank you, everyone. Sorry about that.
I'll just finish this question I started. Is it possible to link them together with the fellowships that current Rotarians may be part of, or ultimately attract new Rotary members to these cause-based focus clubs? Now, who's going to answer that question? Is the scope for cause-based clubs to be established and linked locally? I can't see why there couldn't be. Could you, Barbara? You're on mute, Barbara.
No, sorry.
You can't see
I
it.
could just comment, we have faced this issue as an e-club with the global reach, and we have encouraged members to attend face-to-face Rotary Club in their district every month or so. And that's been very helpful, particularly for new Rotarians, because they get a different take on Rotary culture. And of course, it makes it easier if later we want to make them a president and they can go to pets and they're among some friends. So we've got a secret agenda there.
Very good. Over to you now, Damien, aka Minnie Mouse.
I have to say I haven't been called that one before. Now, I guess one of the initial questions is to Chris. How did you, I guess, establish the initial interest out of both Rotarians and new people, nor non-Rotarians, to actually become part of a cause-based club?
Well, I mentioned shoulder tapping very, very hard.
Yes.
If Rotarianism is infectious, and you catch it from other Rotarians. So what we were able to do was to expose potential members to the full force of experienced Rotarians, and pretty much resistance is futile when you do that. I think I could see Derek King there smiling away. Yeah, he knows how it's done. Because you've got a common interest in the cause provides the entree to introduce them to the Rotarian aspect of it. So that really wasn't a problem to us. People pretty much self-selected. But when we started out, we did have to make the 25 members to charter, and some of them were definitely more like flags of convenience. I suspect they were people that were happy to join the club for a year or two to see us charter, but perhaps weren't long-term interested. But by then we'd had enough critical mass to get our own other members up. And so our membership has sort of hovered around the 28 to 30 mark.
Yeah. So the cause provides the inspiration for people to join.
Yeah, very much. Yep.
Fabulous. Now this is one to Matt and to Joe. It seemed that there was a difference in terms of the responsibilities of the host or the sponsor club in relation to the satellite club with each of your examples. How did you establish that with the host club, and what type of conversation occurred? Matt, did you want to go first?
Sure. So just to explain what the parent club, we still call them the parent club, I suppose, what they handle all of the administrative things. So the bank account, holding the money, registering new members with Rotary International, and really just the admin stuff is their primary responsibility, which allows the satellite club members to effectively operate like perhaps a projects committee on steroids. Most of the time, the bulk of their meetings revolve around upcoming projects and occasionally upcoming fundraising things to pay for those projects, and they don't have to deal with too much else. Does that answer the question?
I think so. And Joe?
In the beginning, it was quite difficult and challenging because different people had different views on what a satellite club meant. They thought it was like a feeder club that we were just going to prop up their membership. And then we had a different president of the main club, and she thought that we would just do all the hard work because we were younger. So it's been a lot of communication, a lot of working out, a lot of rapport building. We've had 3 chairs in our club, and we've gone through quite a few presidents in the main club. So we've just really just kept our focus on how we wanted to have our club to be autonomous but not completely separate from the main club, and just really establish those boundaries, which has been really difficult. But we're getting there.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Did that answer the question?
It does. So thank you. This is one for Chris. How how you mentioned about the global reach of your particular cause-based club. What do you foresee as the capability of developing cause-based e-clubs at a regional level?
Well, in many ways, it's going to be easier because you can meet at district conferences and things like that, even if you can't meet on a monthly basis or a weekly basis. So the possible downside is that you might sort of siphon off all of the enthusiasts for, I don't know, say chopping firewood or something within the district, and they might become a firewood club. So there is a potential issue of poaching there. But as a way of gaining new Rotarians who are committed to that focus, having a regional rather than a global reach is actually, I think, a big advantage. The advantage for the global club is simply that we can cherry pick some of the best people in the world for club membership. I mean, we have some serious talent. And we've also got access to top people in, for example, the Centre for Disease Control in Atlanta, who attend meetings and can be offered to be guest lectures. And so there's pluses and minuses, but in some ways I'd think it would be easier if it was at a district level or a regional level.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. This is a structural question, so it may actually be best answered by Barbara. Is it possible for an established club to become a satellite club of an existing club based on if they were, for example, getting too small? Or do they have to hand back their charter and then charter as a new satellite club?
From an RI point of view, I guess, you know, when we're talking about a satellite club as such, I mean, it's really, you know, it is intended as a, you know, a club that is to kind of to build, you know, build further and possibly charter into another club. And we know that, you know, that doesn't always, you know, that isn't always the intention. Just as Joe has, you know, sort of mentioned that, you know, the club, you know, wants to remain as a satellite. But if it's in order to help a struggling club, that would be something that we wouldn't probably suggest for, you know, in those situations. Is that what you mean, Damien?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I do realise. Thank you very much, Barbara. Now I do realise we're coming close to time, so I will just ask one more question. And this is in relation to the satellite clubs again. How have you balanced the projects between the satellite club and the parent club, as Matt I think put it? And has there been any unhealthy competition for projects?
So it's definitely not competition. I wouldn't call it that. And we're obviously very mindful of not, like Josephine was saying, not wanting to assume that the potentially younger members of the satellite club would do all of our hard work and all the heavy lifting that the parent club members don't want to do. But actually, once everyone starts working together, we've been able to take on some much bigger things with the two clubs having proper buy-in to it. As long as you bring them along on the journey and they're part of planning the event, they get very, very excited about it. We've just finished what's probably the largest hands-on project that our club has done in the last 20 years, which involved 19 working bees over 2.5 months, involving over 60 different Rotarians from our main club, the satellite club, and another neighbouring Rotary club, which we absolutely wouldn't have been able to do without the additional help of the satellite club members and the extra energy that they have brought to the project. So that was really what I was hoping that we would start to see after a bit of time, that we could work together on much bigger things if necessary, and that's sort of been borne out by this recent project. So we're really pleased about that.
Okay, thank you, Matt. And Joe, did you have anything further from that?
I guess our main club actually has had their projects well established. They've been in the Rotary Club since the 50s. and they've done quite the same things. They had a youth committee, and that was the one thing that we asked them as a younger group to take on. So there's never been any competition. There has been another satellite club that was formed in our town, and so we had the older satellite, older Rotarians that have been Rotarians for 50 years, and this is the way we do it. They actually broke away from our main club, and then we have the main Monday club, and then we have our satellite club. I didn't explain that before. So the other satellite club with the older members, they have caused a little bit of friction with the main club, but they're doing their own projects, and the main club does their projects, and then we have our own projects. But again, like Matt said, that we do work with them when there's bigger events and bigger projects on, and they help us as well. I hope that helped.
It does. Now, I'd like to say thank you to our presenters for answering the questions, and I'll pass back to Adrian.
Thank you very much, Damien, aka Minnie Mouse. That was very, very good. Some interesting questions there. I think we still had some more questions to come out. So I'm going to get Barbara to put her email in the chat. Most of you will know Barbara's email, and you probably, like me, have her on speed dial. So if you have any questions that didn't get answered tonight, we would like to answer those. And if Barbara can't answer them, she'll certainly find the people who can. There's Barbara's email address. So thank you all very much. It's good that we had such a good audience tonight, and I hope you got a few tips and tricks out of it. And I wish everyone a very happy and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we look forward to an interesting 2021. Hopefully it'll be a little bit different than 2022. But yeah, so Happy Christmas, everyone. Thank you very much to our presenters again. A virtual round of applause for them all, please. They did a wonderful job. Of course, this is being recorded, and Barbara will send the recording out to each and every one of you, so you'll be able to have a look at it again. Thank you very much to all the assistant Rotary coordinators that came in tonight, and I noticed some assistant Rotary coordinators elect also in there, so thank you very much. Okay, we'll see you all later. Thank you. Bye-bye.